Hold on. Go live. What? Okay. Remove LinkedIn. That's fine. Remove it. We got to go live. Save changes. Oh my goodness. We are live. Good. We had one little glitch before, but here we are. We're live. I'm so honored and grateful right now to be here with the amazing Jan Hargrave. I'm thankful that you're here, Jan. Jan is the body language expert. She teaches you ways in which your body communicates with the world around us, and with your body, the way your body communicates, right? Each and every one of us, our bodies. And she's the nation's leading behavioral authority and body language expert. This is so fun. I'm so excited that you're here. She can teach you the skills you need to read your family, your associates, your customers, and everyone around us. Author of 5 best-selling books. And I'm just so excited you're here. I'm going to let you tell us the rest. Thank you, Jan, for joining me on Meetings with Masters.
I'm really glad to be with you. It's been a wonderful time with these webinars because it allows people to see a lot of our skills that maybe they would never have had a chance to come see us in person speak. So this is a good way for people to learn about the whole world of nonverbal, how I got into it, what we can do with it, what you can read from another person. I think that's the fun thing is, if you can delve into someone's mind and get the second message, because when they're talking with you, it's not just going to be the words. You have to look for the hand motions, the eye motion, the facial expressions, the shoulders. So yeah, I researched this as a young girl in college, did my graduate research in the field of body language, began teaching classes for attorneys. That's how it started off. I was teaching attorneys on how to read people better to pick more favorable juries. So think how it was useful to an attorney because they had to get a juror who was maybe favorable to their side. And that's what they were looking for in the body language. And then it went on from there. I would train witnesses. If we have witnesses testifying, we need them to have a certain kind of body language in certain kinds of cases. So from the research that I did, it went into that. And then I trained a lot of people through the years. I speak on a lot of stages. And when coronavirus came in, I thought, well, wow, I don't know how people will use nonverbal, but what I did is that I delved really deep into my research and I realized we say even more now that we have to do these virtual conversations. So I teach people the secrets of how to really use their body language during a virtual conversation to build bonding within the two and to get someone to trust you. Because Gina, that's what it is. If someone trusts you and feels your sincerity, that is such a big advantage. And there are ways that you can do that, when you're talking with someone on a virtual conversation. So so I'm the body language lady, Jan Hargrave.
Oh my gosh, you sure are. That is exciting this is the time we really need to understand how to have better communication through the internet, right? And through masks, but maybe we'll get to that later. But that's a whole different
what? Just yesterday, a group called me to speak about emotions that you can see from behind a mask, because you can tell when someone's really smiling, because a lot of our facial expressions really are expressed in the top half of our face. And I study facial expressions and facial recognition techniques. So, even if I'm covered here, there are some things you can look in the eyes and the forehead that can kind of let you know what kind of expression is going on behind the mask. So I think it's easier now to read body language from 6 feet away than it was when you were in a really close meeting with someone. Because if I'm looking at you from 6 feet away, I can look at your head, your eyes, your ears, I can look at your shoulders, I can look at your torso, I can see how your feet are placed, your legs across, because every one of those aspects of you give me a better meaning of what you're really saying. So when I teach it twofold. I teach it so that an audience member understands what does their body language send out the moment that someone sees them. And then I try to help people understand what are the underlying messages you can gather by watching someone else and watching their mannerisms, watching their body language, watching their eyes, watching their shoulders. Because 55% of our communication is nonverbal, 55. So that's why you hear that saying, actions speak louder than words. We say a lot from our bodies that we don't even say with our mouth. So 55% of our communication is nonverbal. 38% of our communication is voice inflection. So that's why it's good. And I've listened to you, Gina. It's good when you go up and when you go down, when you go up, when you go down, because it keeps people interested in what you're saying. So you have to kind of use it as to kind of gain gain their power and gain them to listen to you. And then only 7% of a person's real message comes from the words that we say. So 55 is nonverbal, 38 is voice inflection, and 7% does come from the words that we say. That's how
Wow.
valuable it is.
Right, because
So
it's our energy, right? Isn't it the energy? Like if I'm
our energy,
smiling.
and I think that we get a gut feeling when we see people, because I know the moment you see someone, Gina, don't you get an impression? You say, oh, do I like that person? Do I trust them? Do I want to have that conversation with them? That's what body language is. Except the good thing about knowing body language is that I pinpoint for you, if they're moving their hand this way, this is what they're meaning. If they're moving their head this way, this is what they're meaning. So sometimes it's good to put the actual meaning of a gesture with what you're feeling in your gut with that gesture. You understand
Yes.
what I'm saying? So you kind of get an idea when you see someone, Jeannie, if you like them or not, correct?
Yes, for sure.
So you're probably using some of the nonverbal skills that you just accumulated through your years. But then I teach all those things. So people always say when they say, Jan, I would hate to be married to you. And I think to myself, I would hate to be married to myself too, because I am certain that I drive my husband crazy. Because if he just moves a finger, I'm like, okay, Cecil, I know what you're thinking now. And he's like, Jan, you'll never figure me out. I say, I have you figured out, Cecil. So Gina, the way that it started for me, we're going to teach our listeners tonight. I can teach them signs of honesty. I can teach them what people do with their hands when they're lying to you. I'll give you some signs of confidence, maybe some signs of nervousness, just so that our listeners get a better picture and a clearer view. And, you know, maybe what I teach them can help them discern when to say yes or when to say no in a marriage, in a partnership, in a business deal. Because I think what happens is when I speak with the group, it creates an awareness in you that you're thinking, I kind of have to be careful what I'm doing with my body language. And that's good. That's all I want to create is just an awareness that you're thinking a little bit about that when you're talking with someone on a virtual call or in an in-person meeting. So the way it got started, I was sitting in a graduate psychology class. I'm from Louisiana, so that's why I'm a little bit off the wall. I'm from Louisiana. I live in Houston, Texas, though now, and I was sitting in a graduate psychology class with a fun professor. And every few days he would walk in and he would point at someone and he'd say, oh, I know what you're thinking about. And he'd come another day, say, oh, I know what you're thinking. He would do that to us every now and then. And then one day he looked at me and he said, Jan, I know what you are thinking. And I thought, how can that old fool know what I'm thinking? Because it always wasn't too pretty. He told us about body language. And I said, you mean I can study how a person moves his hands, his arms and eyes and kind of figure that person out? He said, oh, yeah. He said, you can do it. And I was dating someone at the time. So I simply said to my college professor, I said, so when this man tells me he loves me, I can figure out if he's telling the truth or not. He said, yeah, you can do it. I said, I need to learn this stuff because I thought, what an advantage I would have. I could figure out if my boyfriends were telling me the truth or not. So when I first started, Gina, I was just trying to figure out this guy. I mean, I was just trying to have fun with it. I was using the body language that I knew on my friends, on this boyfriend. And then from that research, well, then of course it went into really high level research. All my graduate work from there was in the field of nonverbal, my master's thesis, my degree after that. I'm a business major though, and a psychology minor. So I always taught business at the college. I always taught college. I was a born teacher, taught high school, taught college, but I taught business during the day, economics, business law, things of that sort. And then at our night school is where I began teaching some body language classes for the attorneys. So it started off as a whim for me and then became a whole career for me. But it's kind of funny to know how I got into it, huh, Gina? You there? You might be freezing for a bit. Are you okay, Gina?
Jan. Yeah, it's really good. I have to tell you, I'm having terrible Wi-Fi troubles. I don't know what happened. It was, you're going. All right, Jan, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry, everybody. I know Jan was still here with us. I had perfect Wi-Fi, and then we started. I'm hoping it's all good now. Sorry, guys. Jen, that was, you were just sharing about your professor
That's okay.
going in and out. So if you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, okay, so that was kind of going in and out. So let me just, well, thank you for getting us a clear connection, because I think it's a good story, and I think they're going to like the story. So yeah, my professor would come in and say, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. And then one said to me, I know what you're thinking, Jan. And I couldn't believe that someone could figure out what I was thinking. And when he told us that, I told you I was dating someone, and I said to him, so when this guy tells me he loves me, I can figure out if he's telling the truth or not. He said, oh yeah, you can do it. I said, I need to learn this stuff. So I thought it would be an advantage, because I could figure out if my boyfriends were telling me the truth or not. So then I started my research in that, and it was at first just fun. I mean, I was using it on my friends, using it on my boyfriends. I was just having fun with it. And then, of course, I got more interested. I did more and more research, and my graduate studies are all in the field of nonverbal. So my master's thesis is in body language. My third degree's dissertation is all in body language. But I'm a business major, Gina, and a psychology minor. Okay. So during the day at college, so I taught college for years and years and years, and I still teach at the University of Houston here in Houston. I teach graduate accounting students on accounting communication, because even if you're doing accounting and you may be thinking someone's embezzling or someone's taking money from, just something, you also not only have to be skilled in your profession, you have to know how to really present your findings to them. And you also have to try to figure out if that person's lying to you, if you're doing all of the accounting work for that person.
Wow.
So then I started teaching business in the day, all of my business, law, economics. And then I was continuing with my graduate studies in body language. And so they wanted to really get the night school at the university where I was teaching, getting it started. I went to school at University of Louisiana Lafayette, and I taught at University of Louisiana Lafayette. Then when I moved to Houston, I taught for several years at University of Houston, still teach at University of Houston. So they asked if I would develop a class, to help attorneys understand liars and truth tellers and the whole. So I did. I wrote this 6 weeks curriculum, and people started taking the class.
I wonder.
Yeah, keep going.
I've got full Wi-Fi. Okay, here we go. I'm not sure if it's where it's coming from, but it should be clear now. So okay.
Yeah. So then I developed this curriculum, and really what the class consisted of, I would teach, and it was mostly attorneys or criminal justice majors. I would teach them all the effects of lying and all the signs of lying, all the signs of honesty and dishonesty, confidence, nervousness. And the fun thing about the class, though, and I do handwriting analysis, Jeannie, isn't that crazy? I do handwriting analysis, and I do facial analysis. So I was teaching them all of that, because it's big parts of your body language are those two areas. And then at the last class meeting every semester, I would house a To Tell the Truth game panel show in my classroom. That was their final exam. So on the last night of class, I would bring in 3 people. 2, of course, were imposters, and 1 was of a true profession. The first semester that I taught it for that final exam, I brought out a nun. I had gone to a Catholic school in Louisiana. We had lots of nuns then. So I had a friend who was a nun, and I just said to her, I said, please my class on this certain night. But I said, you cannot wear your nun's habit, just wear a regular suit. Then I had to find myself 2 other ladies who looked a little bit nunly also. And so as each lady come in, I would just say, who are you? And the first would say, well, I am Sister Mary Teresa. And second would say, no, I am Sister Mary Teresa. Third would say, you know what? I am the real Sister Mary Teresa. Then my class could proceed, and they could ask them questions. How many beads are there on a rosary? Or does a priest really drink the wine? I don't know what they ask him, but from them watching the ladies, so think how their exam worked. They could look at these ladies as they answer the questions. They could listen to the answer, but more so they could look at their body language, and they could determine which 2 were lying, which one was telling the truth. So that's how I first into it, Gina. And then from there, wrote 1 book, then 2 books, and 3 books, and 5 books. But then after I did the first book, that's when I started kind of rolling, and I started doing all these television shows, started with Ricky Lake and Montel and more, the whole bit. And they used me as the human lie detector for couples having trouble. Is that crazy?
Who better than you?
So then,
that's fabulous.
That's right. And, maybe a couple would come on and they were having difficulties in this and this. So then I'd have to do the body language of the couples. And then oftentimes, I know we did it on Maury's show. I didn't do those, who's my baby's daddy. I didn't do those shows, Gina. Okay. Mine was just with couples. And And so then after they, I'd get my findings. They compare my findings to a lie detector test, and my findings were always the same as a lie detector test.
Oh,
So
wow, that's
like this, Lena. I mean, that was a good thing, Lena. So then it started like that, and so then I made my living, traveling, speaking, and training. But I'm so glad that I studied it when I studied it, because it's a very timely and needed occupation. I didn't think it'd be that needed years ago, but I can see now that people just grab at it. It amazes me sometimes.
I think when I first heard you speak at Tony Robbins Leadership Academy 2 years ago, that was the most fascinating part of the whole event for me. I have to say, I was because it wasn't, people don't think about it, honestly, unless unless you for some reason you're in that field, or maybe lawyers think about it. I mean, me, just an everyday person, it wasn't something I think about. I'm always smiling. So I feel like I give up a good.
Hey, but Gina, I bet it created an awareness in you. And if I taught you maybe one gesture and you saw it a week later in a meeting, you might have said, oh, I remember Jan taught me that gesture. So that's the good thing, is that you created an awareness in people, and they're more aware of, well, what are my shoulders doing now? What's my neck doing now? How am I appearing to these people? And I think we need to do that. It's part of a respect for another when we're listening to them. It's part of respecting ourselves and knowing how we present ourselves to other people. So I've totally enjoyed it. And people often ask me, they'll say, Jan, do you ever not do it? And so to make them not to feel uncomfortable, I say, oh, I don't do it all the time, but I probably do it all the time.
How could you not? I would think, how could you not?
Because the great thing is now, when I'm in these conversations with people on Zoom or this kind of means, I mean, I'm looking at them, but boy, I'm looking at their body language, because I can really zoom in on it while they're on these conference calls. It's been fun for me to do it.
Yeah, because that's a whole new way to read people, right? On these conference calls. I mean, that's because we can only really see from here to here, and you have
keep going.
No, and I know you've talked about certain ways that we sit.
And I move back too, because what's good is that when you're talking, Gina, you do move your hands a bit. And I think it's good that people see your hands every now and then, because that's how people begin to trust you, is if they can see some of your hand motions. It's not like you're hiding information when they can actually see some of your hand motions. So I recommend to people that they actually let others, kind of push back if they need to, and let someone see their hands for a bit when they're speaking.
That's a good point. I mean, I'm Italian, so I tend to, be like that.
It is, And the insides of palms are really good to do. Let's have fun, and let's start off this way. When I get people kind of into my talk about body language, because I tell them that some days when I sit in the courtroom, I watch people raise their right hand, and I say, just lift it there and keep it there for a minute, and I'll tell you exactly what kind of personality you have by doing that. So, Gina, if you just raise yours, and we're going to pretend that we're getting ready to say, I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if anyone is watching right now, I really want them to do it, because I will tell you how to decipher if you're probably going to be honest, or maybe you're not going to be honest on the witness stand. So we look for 5 things. And some people are this way when they stand up and put their hand up, and notice my hand is rigid. My fingers are wide apart. So I'll tell you what that says about your personality. Some people put their hand up and they put their fingers tight together. So I'm going to tell you what that says about a person. Okay. Some people tend to bend the fingers forward a bit. So I want to mention that one too. Okay. Some people lift their hands and they have 2 fingers together and 2 fingers apart. So I'm going to mention that. And then some people put the hand all the way backwards. So I'm going to mention that one too. So Gina, let's pretend this is yours. So this is your way. If ever you had to go to the courtroom, your hand would be just this way. Well, This is a good one, because when someone's hand is this way, the wider the fingers are, the more that they are terrified, and they will tell us the whole truth. So if ever you need to go just this way. Second one, though, is equally as good. My hand was up and my fingers were really tight. This is a good one, Gina. This is called an analytical honesty. This person will tell us the truth, but we will have to pull it out of them. Oh. In the third one, my fingers were bent forward. And do you know that, so people who do this, anytime the fingers are bent forward in the courtroom, it usually says that this person will try to lie to us. So you may want to check one of your friends' hands when you ask them this. Anytime the fingers are bent forward, it usually means deception. And then the fourth one, I had 2 fingers together and 2 fingers apart. But think about what I originally said. When fingers are wide apart, that's a readily type of honesty. When fingers are tight together, it's an analytical honesty. So this person gives us both types of responses. And then lastly, I bent my hand backwards. And when someone bends the hand backwards this way in the courtroom, it usually says that they will try to bend over backwards to get us to believe them, but will be typically telling us a lie. So it's kind of interesting to know all these things. So it's kind of fun. And when you see someone you haven't seen in a while, you might say to them, so tell me what you've been doing since I've been gone. And as they begin their story, say, can you finish telling me that and put your right hand up and look to see if it's this way or is it this way? Now you kind of catch people like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Because you're having a lot of conversations with people too, aren't you?
Yes, yes.
And you're getting a feel of them this way, huh, Gina?
Yeah.
You're getting a good feel of them, and some you might not get a good feel. Because when I started doing this research in March to see how I can bring this whole science to virtual conversations, it had said in the research that it takes an average of 2 weeks of virtual calls to be as socially grounded as one handshake used to be.
Wow.
When you yes, unless you have some training, of course, in body language, but because when we shake someone's hand, you can kind of feel, oh, they're nervous shaking my hand, they're solid, they're confident. So we can't do that right now. So we have to display all of that. But that's what it had said in the research. It takes 2 weeks of virtual conversations, unless you really know how to gain trust really quickly. So that's why it's just been a timely thing that we have this virus that's going on, and that I do what I do.
Yeah. I mean,
in teaching some gestures, let's give them a test. Let's try a test. I'll give you 3 or 4 gestures, and we'll see if you can tell if they're true or they're false. Okay, so I'll do this for number 1.
Okay.
Let's say that you're in a conversation with a guy and he's listening to what you're saying. So as you're talking with him, let's say he takes his right hand and he just slowly begins to do this, kind of rubbing his chin for a minute.
Okay.
So for question number 1, I'm gonna say when a guy does this is a gesture that says that he is seriously contemplating what is being said. Do you think that that would be true? Do you think that that would be false? What do you think when someone does this?
Oh, I would say, I think true.
Yes. Let me help you with the answer. You're correct. This gesture in body language is a huge gesture of evaluation. So a man, when he evaluates, when he's thinking really soft, hard and thinking, oh, should I get into this? He will probably do a gesture similar to this. A lady, when she is evaluating, usually points a finger up and slightly tilts a head. So this is called critically evaluating. This is called boredom, when the head is hanging in the hand.
Oh my God.
But you can always tell when you're talking with someone, the moment that they get bored, that'll be the very moment that their chin starts to, because there's a difference in me doing this and me doing this. So the moment that the chin drops in the hand, that's the moment they're becoming bored with you. So most guys will do this. If a guy has a beard though, and he does this, it's more that he's doing it to soothe himself. If a guy does not have a beard, and there's a difference in a sideways motion and a motion that comes straight out. See the motion that comes straight out? If someone does this, it's as though they're thinking to themselves, whatever you're saying is so long and boring, I almost have time to grow a beard. So you see the difference, Gina? So
oh my God.
Evaluation rubbing this way is that they're bored with what you're saying. So that's going to be kind of funny to watch with what they're doing with their hands, huh?
That's a good one. I didn't remember that one.
Okay, let me try this for number 2. Number 2, men who constantly jingle the change in their pockets are concerned about their financial situation. True or false?
True.
True. It is true.
I think true. Yeah.
Usually if someone jingles the change in the pockets too much, they're really concerned about money. Either they have a lot of money and they want to know where the next big bucks come from, or they hardly have any coins and they're concerned where the next pennies come from. Everything in body language goes back to basic knowledge. At Christmas time, how does the Salvation Army let us know they need money? They kind of shake some coins. It's the same thing. But when I'm coaching men who want to speak, I say you cannot do that. It's too distracting. You need to take all that change out of your pockets and you just stand up there and really give your presentation. Because anything you do that's distracting, like clicking a ballpoint, playing with the change, those are called displacement gestures. Even this, if I just keep pulling and pretending that I'm taking imaginary lint off my clothing, that is a displacement gesture. Rubbing on my neck here about 5 times, that's a displacement gesture. And displacement gestures are done when someone is insecure with what they're saying. Even this, someone may be taking an arm and scratching it here while they're talking with you. And you know that the arm is not itching. It's just that they're doing this so that you would more concentrate on this area and not concentrate on the words that they're saying. So that's what we call displacement gestures in business. So it's wise that you don't, it's kind of crazy to not even touch yourself when you're talking with someone, but I can get into that later. So let me go with question number 3.
Okay.
3 goes this way. If you're watching a guy and a girl in a casual conversation, and while that guy and girl are speaking, the guy would begin to pull up his socks. So for question number 3, I just want to say this. If a guy begins to pull up his socks during a casual conversation with the lady, it usually says that he would like to ask that lady out on a date. Do you think that that's true? You think that that's false?
Ooh, I think that's true. I think that's true.
I won't tell you the answer to that one yet, because I'll keep some romantic body language for the end. I'll teach them some romantic body language from my love book at the end too.
Ooh, okay.
So let me go on to number, let's try this for number 4. 4 would be, I'll give you this probably as one of the last ones. I'll start it off this way, and I'm going to just show you with my hand. So the question would be, people who tend to use their hands a lot, with the left hand a lot to the face, tend to be more so those who are being deceptive with you. So people who touch their face with their left hand are more so those who are deceptive. Would you say that that's true? Would you say that that's false?
I would say that, I think that that's probably true. Is that true?
It is true.
Yeah.
And it's not that left-handed people lie more than right-handed people. It's only because the left hand is controlled from the right side of the head, and I'm going to explain that too in just a bit. But because of that, there are certain motions that people do with their left hand when they're touching their face that we're going to talk about when I get to the lying part of the lecture this evening.
Okay.
That indicate that they're probably being deceptive. So let me give you number 5, and then I'm going to relate 5 and 4 questions together. So number 5 would be this way. Let's say I'm talking with you and my hands are moving out, they're moving in. And then while I'm speaking with you, I would do this. I would maybe sit back in my chair, bring my fingertips together, maybe bring my head back, say a sentence, and then maybe do this again. So I'm saying to you for number 5, when a person does this gesture, it is a gesture that says that he is serious, that he is confident about what he is saying. Do you think that that would be true? Do you think that that would be false? What do you think?
I think true, because I do that a lot, and I usually feel pretty confident.
Very good, good answer, because it's true. So let me just tell you what this is. This gesture in body language is probably the biggest gesture of confidence that I could ever teach a person. And this gesture is called a steeple. It's usually done with the fingertips loosely placed together, not as though you're in prayer. They're pretty loosely placed together. And it doesn't have to even be done. It's called a steeple in body language. Anytime you're going to see the steeple formation, it is always going to be associated with a level of confidence in that person. And I don't have to see it done with all the fingertips together. I can watch someone talk with me and maybe have their hands this way. I can watch someone speaking or listening and they have their hands this way. I can even watch someone doing this. But anytime you're going to have this kind of steeple position, it's always going to be associated with a level of confidence. This here with my fingers not touching, this is called a goalpost steeple. So anytime you're going to see this kind of formation, it's going to be associated with the level of confidence. So if ever you're speaking, you don't want to make your hands go crazy on the screen, but every now and then to make sure that maybe you're giving them a gesture of confidence, you can sit back and maybe just put your hands together here for a minute. It's always going to make them know that you're confident with what you're saying. So in the research, it says this: we steeple at our chest when we're confident about what we're saying. We steeple in our lap level when we're confident with what we're hearing. So understand. So got it, Gina? So if I'm telling you something and you feel good about it, probably you're going to be steepling kind of like this.
Like this? Okay.
Any steeple. This is a steeple. This is a steeple. This is a steeple.
I do it.
Steeple. So if you're listening to me and you liking what you're listening to, you'll probably be doing a steeple. So that's why people in sales, if you body language as you're presenting your project to someone, wouldn't it be great if you could look at their body language and tell if they're liking what you're saying or they're disliking what you're saying?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a really good gesture to do. So let me just explain why our hands move when we're speaking and why I think it's wonderful that people use their hands. You use your hands magnificently well. I think a lot of it is of your heritage, because different nationalities, of course, move their hands a little bit differently. You're Italian, so you're very expressive. I'm French, we're kind of expressive in our own means too. So let me just show you why your hands move so that our listeners and watchers can get the true message behind body language. When I move my right hand, my right arm, my right leg, my right eye, any motion that I do on my right side of my body, it is all controlled from the left side of my head. And my left brain, that's the analytical side, it's the factual side, it is the numerical side. My timetables are located here. If I am multiplying something inside my head and have trouble getting the numbers multiplied, I would move my right hand. It would help me organize those thoughts. And then finally, I could speak the right words. So now every time I move something on the left side of my body, my left hand, Gina, your left leg, your left eye, your left shoulder, anything that you're going to move on the left side of your body, that is controlled from the right side of our brain. And our right brain, this is a creative side. This is the comical side. This is the side that daydreams. If ever you drove somewhere and you cannot recall how you got there, of course, you drove their right brain. So think your little hands move. Your hands move to help you organize thoughts that are contained right here in this big brain of yours, so that you can process them so that they make sense when you finally talk with people. Like if I had to talk to you for 30 minutes and look, I'm going to put my hands behind me. And while I was speaking, let's say I could not use my hands at all. It would become very, very difficult for me to organize my thoughts and get them out in a logical fashion. That's what it is. Look, it's the motion of your hands that kind of help your mind relax so that you can organize your thoughts and then speak them when you need to speak them. So that's why when I talked and I asked you question number 5, and I said, people who tend to use their left hand a lot might be those who tend to lie a lot. That's why that statement is true. It's never again, like I said, that left-handed people lie more than right-handed people. The only reason the left hand is used for deception is because the left hand is controlled from the right creative side of the brain. So when I tell a lie, it's coming from right here in my head. And because of that, this side operates everything on this side. So my right brain controls my left hand, and my left hand does certain things that indicate to others, hey, she's being deceptive with what she's saying. So let me give you maybe, so you understand, Gina, kind of what it might work?
I do, because I was wondering that. I was thinking, but if I'm a lefty, I would probably use my left hand. But you're saying no. If you're using your left hand, it's just because it's being directed by the right brain.
Okay. And I'll give you the lying gestures so that even if our listeners or watchers are left-handed, I'll give them some gestures that they should not do. Because if someone never has been schooled in body language, but you did the lying gestures too much, they after a while would not trust you. So it's kind of an innate thing. So what happens is this. Our honesty gestures come out of our right hand. Our dishonesty gestures come out of our left hand. The most sincere honesty gesture is still this, bringing my right hand to my heart with my fingers apart. So it's similar to the pledge. In the pledge, our fingers are together. In the honesty, look, they're like this. You see, they're all spread out. Just like the beginning when you said, I promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. It's the same hand motion, but it goes here. So if you want to look like really sincere when you're talking with someone, Gina, just keep doing this. Like, you look so good. I love you so much. Just keep putting that right hand through your heart, honey. They'll believe you every time.
I do that. But sometimes I noticed I was just doing this, but I do put my hand on my heart a lot. But I just
like this, it's like it's coming from within you, and it's coming within your heart that you want someone to know that you care for them, or you're worried about them. And so you see a lot of people kind of clutch themselves here when they're being sincere.
Yeah. So Shuling said, I'm left-handed. Ha ha ha. Well, that's okay.
Shuling never lies. She's always never. I knew she was left-handed. So then let me just give you a few left-handed gestures that are associated then with dishonesty. Because I said, predominantly it's going to be the left hand. So when someone's really trying to pull the wool over your eyes, I'll give you 3 main things that they do. So they'll take, let's say someone's talking with you and they're going to get ready to tell you something. So they'll kind of swing the left hand in front of you for a minute. And then they're going to take their left index finger. And while they lie, they begin to rub up and down the left side of their nose. So a liar does this. Usually goes up twice and then looks down and comes across the nose twice. So usually goes up twice and then out twice. So Gina, I'm sure you've seen someone do this and say, yeah, you look real good.
Somebody very close. Yes, I do.
They were lying to you, Gina. They were probably lying to you. But I'm a teacher, so I never want to teach you something and not validate it for you.
Yeah.
I will do it in slow motion, and you tell me exactly what happened. So I took my hand and I touched my nose twice here. Then I took my hand and then I did this. So 2 things are happening really right now. I am pushing up on my nose and I'm covering my mouth. Those are 2 things happening here. So think why a liar would maybe do that. A liar wants to bring a hand here to distract you from the information coming out of his mouth. So sometimes he wants to distract you with his fingernails. Sometimes he'll distract you with the watch, sometimes with the ring. When someone has something in front of the mouth, it is conceivable that they're trying to think, if I cover my mouth, they won't fully understand that I am lying to them. Because as a child, when you were a child and you said something you should not have said, you tried to stuff it back in. So as an adult, look, we're still trying to stuff it back in, but oops, instead we're kind of shoving it.
Oh my gosh.
It's a physiological effect. Every time you tell a lie, you get a tingling sensation in your nose, and because of it, you end up rubbing. So that's why you see people who are deeply caught up in a lie will either go with this motion, some kind of way to cover the mouth, because think what's going on in the mind of someone who's lying to you. In their mind, they're having to think of their lie and keep it straight, and they're also trying to gauge you to see if you're believing what they're telling you. So their mind is like crazy busy. So they're not sometimes aware of all the body language gestures that they're sending out. But you see that this is a huge one. I watch politicians, I watch people on television when they're uncomfortable do it. It's a huge, huge gesture of dishonesty. So now you can lie to someone and you can just go to them and say, "Oh, you look so beautiful," and just do this. They'll never do it.
No, I'm like thinking of all the people I know, for sure. People that do that.
And Gina, think of this. This goes back to the Pinocchio effect.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the longer the nose gets, the more a person lies. And then when you have, when you had some politicians who had been in trouble, I remember Bill Clinton was there, and Richard Nixon, when they put him on the cover of Time magazine from the side, and the nose was really extended, you see. And so that was their method to say this person is not being truthful with you. I think I still even have some copies. I had done Bill Clinton's body language when he first testified in Congress with the Monica Lewinsky case. I did Bill's body language. And look, he started off like this. And I said, "Oops, this is not a very good day for old Bill." So it was kind of interesting to watch him do. Two other gestures of dishonesty.
Okay.
The next one is this. You see, I'm just taking my left hand and I'm kind of rubbing underneath here by my left eye. It's kind of in the area here. Sometimes I'll touch the eye.
Yep.
People who do this, when they're telling you something, they're actually trying to give you a message that says, "Do not see very clearly what I'm saying because I am not being fully truthful with you."
Wow.
So they'll do this. They're nervous about something, and you catch them because when they're telling you the lie, the wording they use has to do with sight. So they may rub and say, "Oh, that looks real good on you." But at the time they're doing this, and that means they're probably not being fully honest with you. And then the third one against the left hand, and they're coming back to the left ear this time. And I'm sure you've had people talk with you and maybe they're tugging on the ear this way. There is no sense that someone does this. They're doing it so that you are looking here and that you're not looking here. So when they do this, you catch them because they use words that have to do with hearing. So they may pull and say, "Yeah, that sounds real good." And most of the time they're not telling you the entire truth. So you understand why they touch the nose, because they want to bring the information back in the mouth.
Yeah.
I want to help you understand why one person touches his eye when he lies and why a second person touches his ear. These two touches are reflective of that person's preferred method of learning. Because in this world, I think we have three methods with which we learn. Some of us are visual learners.
Yes.
Some of us are audio learners, and some of us are kinesthetic, where we have to touch something for us to learn it. So if you are a visual learner and you're saying something that's not true, to kind of calm you down, you will go to the area that brings you the most information and you will touch it. So visual people, when lying, touch their eye. Audio people, when being deceptive, will end up touching the ear. All of us in reality will end up touching the nose. Let me show you how to figure out if you're visual or audio, Gina. It's a quick experiment called chinners and cheekers. So just take your right hand and touch your right cheek.
Okay.
And I'll either have you touch your cheek or your chin, and then you can figure out if you're visual or audio. And those of you watching, I want you to do the same thing. So then I'm going to just kind of zero in here, and it goes pretty fast. So I just need you with me. Let's touch our chin.
Chin.
You ready, Gina?
Yeah.
Our cheek. Our cheek.
Yep.
Our chin.
Our chin.
Our cheek. Our chin. Follow me. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? I want you to start your chin. Our chin. Our cheek. Our chin. Our cheek. Our chin. Gina, I think you just from. Yeah. So what happens is this. You still doing it? You with me, Gina?
Yeah. I was like freezing. Am I freezing? Okay. Sorry. Yep. Chin.
Okay. Ready? Touch your cheek. Cheek.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Your chin.
Yep.
Your cheek.
Yep. Cheek.
Your chin.
Yep. Chin.
Your cheek.
Your cheek.
Your cheek. Okay. So, okay, that's what I wanted to see is if you were going to follow my lead in words or you were going to follow my lead in mannerisms. So if you ended up where I ended up, that means your eyes would have never left me. So you're called a visual learner. If you ended up by the words I said, you're called an audio learner. Some people are still doing this. And I'm kind of concerned about them the whole time. But now think what you found out about you, Gina. So you're an audio learner. You got it? So
Yes.
and probably if you're saying something that makes you uncomfortable, not necessarily that you'd be lying, but that makes you uncomfortable, you will more than likely touch your ear when you're telling something about yourself that makes you feel uncomfortable.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I am visual, so I would more so touch the eye. I'd be fooling with my eyes. So that's how you figure out sometimes quickly when someone's being deceptive with you is just kind of watch what they touch. If they're touching their eyes, they're touching their ears, they're touching their nose. It's kind of interesting to know those things, Gina, just
Oh
to
my
kind of get
God. It's so interesting. I'm listening. I got the shilling and our friend Susan Hum laughing over here saying, Susan said, I think I'll buy a straight jacket to strap into our Steel Rose meetings. Although I think it's Susan. I can't actually tell, but I have a feeling by the sound of it. Or shilling, it's one of them. So somebody, can I ask you, well, someone said, what if someone constantly keeps their hand over their mouth as they talk to you? Then they're trying to cover it up, right? They're trying to cover it up.
It probably is that they're kind of more nervous, maybe concealing information. But then, when we're dealing with people, in everyday life, we don't know what their life was like as children.
Right.
So maybe that person too, maybe had difficulty with a smile or maybe with teeth. I mean, I see that even now in adults who maybe had some hardships when they were younger with their teeth and they were just used to doing this and they still do it later on in life. But I think once someone is aware of what that message is that they're sending, I hope that they don't do it anymore. So, and not every mannerism is 100% every time. What we do when we're studying body language really well, we look for clusters of gestures. So if I was trying to figure out if you were telling me the truth or not, if you rub your nose, I wouldn't right away say, oh, she just lied to me. I would look for three gestures together that would indicate to me that you're being deceptive with me. So we look for clusters. We have 3 C's: clusters, congruence, and context. So congruence is, does your body language match what you're telling me? Like if I said to you, I love you so much, but my head's going in a no, you'd probably more so believe the body language. So we look for congruence when someone's saying, oh, I like you so much. We want to see that we get the true meaning because we're trying to see if the words are matching the body language. Right. And then context is you have to think of the setting that the body language is appearing in. If I see someone sitting with their arms really tightly crossed in a business meeting, that lets me know that they're maybe not interested in me. But if I see someone tightly crossed arms sitting at a bus stop in the cold, it's not that they're not interested, it's that they are cold. So you have to think of the body language in the context it's used. You have to get 3 or 4 gestures together, like a cluster of gestures. And then you have to make sure that there's congruency. And then the wording that I have to teach people about when we're studying about body language is the wording called baseline behavior. Baseline behavior. So if I'm working with a client and trying to figure out if they're going to lie on the stand or trying to see if they're lying to me, I would not first start talking with them about a crime. Let's say it's about a crime. Right. I always will get a read on that person first. I might sit with them and I'll talk to them about their family or their children or their job. And then I start noticing, oh, she touches her right ear or her hair with the right hand when she's comfortable. She crosses her right leg over her left leg when she's comfortable. So I get a read on you. Then when I'd ask you a difficult question, I would look for deviations from your baseline body language. For example, I had done Roger Clemens' body language when Roger was accused of taking some growth-enhancing drugs years ago. He had testified in Congress. So it was Fox News who had asked if I would just do his body language. And so when I started doing the body language, I noticed that he was a constant lip licker. That's hard for me to say.
Lip licker. Yeah.
If someone does that too much in the courtroom, we usually say, well, this person is nervous. Their mouth is dry and they probably are lying to us. But I could not come on national television and say, I think he's lying because he's licking his lips so much. So what I had to do, I had to go back and look at all this old footage of Roger. And I noted that when he bats, he licks his lips. When he pitches, he licks his lips. So that is baseline behavior for him. I had to then look for deviations from his baseline. So as I give you these gestures, don't think that the moment they touch the nose, they're lying. The moment they touch the eye, they're lying. And so you have to look at it. You have to look and study, so much. And what I find is that when I'm working in the courtroom, I'm better than when I'm speaking in front of a group, because when I'm speaking in front of a group, I'm wondering, oh, does this person like what I'm teaching them? You know, we have so many other influences. But if
Yes.
I'm looking at someone's testimony, that's when it seems like everything I ever learned just comes into view, because all I have to focus on is that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I can rewind tape oftentimes. I can look at something, 10 times and really get every single motion that they do. So that's been the fun thing about this.
I have a question about that. Do you think so? If someone had a childhood where they were shushed, they weren't allowed to speak, and so they might have had to go like this if they spoke a lot, that could turn into a baseline of them covering their mouth.
Right.
Because somebody said, she asked, so basically any touching of the face while talking suggests discomfort or deception. But I was thinking about that, like if a child had that sort of.
Well, yeah, you know what? It's some kind of, it doesn't necessarily mean deception. It certainly, though, does mean discomfort and uneasiness with the subject area that's.
Okay.
For that in a person, because as an adult, you have to realize the more that you're going to fool with yourself when you're talking with someone, the less likely you're going to come across as confident to them.
Yes.
So if there's some gestures you did as a child and they're still with you today, and they're not good gestures, well, maybe you should, people need to maybe make a change. And what I find too is that a lot of children pick up the gestures that their parents did. Maybe a guy will keep doing this and he wonders why he does it. And I say, did your daddy do that? And he say, yeah, my daddy did this too. So children really, at about age 7, a child will have the exact adult body language as their parents. So that's why parents need to be really careful of what kind of body language they're sending out. But at age 7, they have about that same body language as the parent.
Yeah, we always have to model everything, our body language too.
I know.
What about this? Somebody asked, what about playing with your hair?
Oh, playing with the hair. That's a courtship gesture, girl. That's a sign like says, ooh, do you think I'm pretty enough for you? Because in my third book, I wrote a book called Freeway of Love, and it's a sign that men and women do that say, oh, you look so good, I want to date you. And so I went through the 100 gestures of that women do that say I'm interested in you, and 100 gestures that men do that say I'm interested in you. And that book is titled Freeway of Love, from that old song on the Freeway of Love in my pink Cadillac. And so when I wrote it, I just wanted the reader to kind of travel this highway of romance. Chapter 1 is all about you spotting someone from across the room. Chapter 2 is about eyes. You're looking at them and they catch you looking at them. So there's a whole eye protocol in this love stuff. Then chapter 3, you're walking towards them. So each chapter gets you closer and closer to your intended. And since the book was named a song, I said, I'll just name every chapter in the book a song. So chapter 1 in that it's Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. That's chapter 1, girl. Chapter 2 is The Book of Love, was a song by Sergio Mendez. Chapter 3, they're getting closer to each other. I use Roberta Flack's The Closer I Get to You. It just goes downhill from there. There's 11 chapters. But I did do one chapter in there called Smooth Operator, and it's on lying gestures between lovers. So I went through all of the different gestures that when people are dating, I think it's really important. And I listed the 101 most often told lies that couples who are dating tell each other. So I listed 101. You know what's number 1? You kind of know it's nothing bad.
I know I read it.
The number 1 is it's I'll call you.
Oh, okay.
I'll call you or I'll text you is the number 1. Okay. But now you catch it, they'll go, yeah, baby, I'll call you. They'll rub their nose when they're telling you that. Number 1 gesture is I'll call you. The number 2, the number 10 gesture is I've never done this kind of thing before. It was so funny when I was researching those.
Oh, so I was thinking like moves. So you're saying what they say.
They said. The 101 most often told lies when people are dating. It's just a funny little book. I did that book with Steve Harvey. I did a lot of Steve Harvey shows, and we covered that book in there.
I love that book.
You have that book, Gina?
I'm going to get that. I love it. I love the. I think that you at the event we got the 101.
Maybe I did give you the 101.
And I have the book. I have. Let me see.
I know it's kind of a crazy thing, but yeah.
I have your Let Me See Your Body Talk. Let me see your body talk. I meant
Let Me See Your Body Talk. Oh yeah, that was my first book. Let Me See Your Body Talk. So my first book is Body Language Job Interview, Body Language Presentation Skills, Body Language Gender Differences, and second one is Judge the Jury. So it's all about courtroom and handwriting analysis and how to catch people in those big, awful lies that we catch them in. And the third one is the love. And the fourth is a business book. The fifth one is a book called Poker Face. It's the body language of poker players.
Oh, really? So you know when someone
I
is
got into that.
lying.
I'm a little bit of a gambler. So I said, let me just
love
put my
it.
skills on the poker table. So you don't want to play poker with me because I'll win.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you will every time.
Hey, so when people are doing these calls, you know, that we have these calls,
Yeah.
I call it the triple threat that you can use. It's how should you use your eyes? So I'll give you a couple of secrets of that. How you could use your hands and how you can use your shoulders to really convey confidence and to convey sincerity when you're talking with them. So for the eyes, for a minute, let me just mention this. It is always good that you look sometimes in the camera because, you know, we're so used to looking at people on the screen and yet they don't feel that we're looking at them right in the eyes. So there's a way that you can look at people in the camera because in a conversation that's in person, I should be looking into your eyes 60 to 70% of that conversation. That's how much I should be, you know, gazing at you. But on the screen, we're not gazing. When you really look at someone, you know, for a long period of time, it lets out a hormone called oxytocin. It's released by the pituitary gland, and it's the love hormone, by the way. So it bonds you there quicker. So you got to make sure that you give people good eye contact. The 3 eye behaviors that we don't trust in the courtroom, and maybe you should not trust in these virtual conversations. We never trust someone's story if their eyes won't meet ours. So you got to be careful of that. We have a hard time trusting someone's story if their eyes excessively blink. And we almost never trust someone's story if their eyes remain closed for longer than necessary while they're talking with us. So I'm sure you've had a conversation with people, look, their eyes are closed the whole time. You're like, what is going on with that person? If the eyes stay closed for too long, it usually means that they're blocking information about themselves from you. So you got to make sure that, you know, just kind of watch for that when you're talking with people. So three behaviors that you should not do. You should not, I mean, you have that are bad. The bad ones are that people don't look at you straight in the eye. People continuously blink and blink and blink when you're talking with them because it is a sign of deception. And then people who keep their eyes closed for too long when they're talking with you. And then also beware of those people who, we call it the sharpshooter eye. They'll kind of squint and maybe look at you through the corner of the eye. It has a positive and it has a negative. If you really are giving someone details and they're doing that, that's a positive because they're really listening to what you're saying. But if you're just talking with them and they're kind of doing this sharpshooter kind of look with you, it indicates that they're leery about what you are telling them. So kind of watch for those if you're watching someone on the internet. And then also, I like to tell people, you know, and you're doing it so well, Gina, is that as much as you can kind of try to keep your shoulders straight because unevenness of shoulders, see this, means indecisiveness of person. So as much as you can, you know, try to keep them as straight as you can because your posture will affect how they see you too. And even in gestures, sometimes you have to make them a little enlarged because when you stay too tiny with your arms crossed, your legs crossed, you kind of look like you're a target. And people, that's when people feel they can pounce upon you. So if you could, because I watch Oprah and look, Oprah's interviewed like this. When she interviews, she's like this.
She's like this,
Right. Because the more space you look like you need, the more powerful you can seem to be to others. So if you need, I don't want to tell you to spread out over the screen, but every now and then you might want to do it. And then with your hands, I think another good gesture is like, let's say I'm talking with you. You see, I'm pretending to hold on to an imaginary basketball as I'm talking. You see my basketball that I'm holding on to? So I may be saying a sentence, giving a point, and then I'm going to lean forward and I'm going to do this. That's a gesture that says, I have this information in the ball of my hands and I'm gladly going to share it with you. Just kind of, but you have to be comfortable with it, Gina. You can make yourself a bigger ball. Girl, I'm giving you a bigger ball. Let me see your ball. Yeah, a bigger ball, a ball. Pretend like the imaginary basketball. Imaginary basketball, you hold it on the sides. Hold it on the sides, Gina. And you kind of talk, and you just casually give it to them.
Okay, so not like this, like this.
So like you're holding onto an imaginary basketball is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And then another one that I think our listeners would be wise to do is in the head nods. Head nods, 2 head nods is always an encouragement to the other person to keep talking. So, you know, normally someone's talking and go like, that's good. That's good. 2 head nods are like an encouraging thing. 3 head nods seemingly say, you need to shut up because I want to talk now. So there's a difference. So 2 head nods is good. 3 head nods is, okay, I'm finished with you.
Oh, okay. Wait, can I ask a question about the online stuff? Because this is something. This is where I get caught. And you were talking about, looking at the camera, right? So the camera
You just rubbed your nose, Gina.
Oops. I actually have an itch. I had a true itch.
Okay.
Darn it.
Keep going.
So this is, I'm, when I do these things, I go, should I be reading the comments? People are asking all kinds of questions, but then I'm not looking at you. And I find it hard to look at the little dot when I want to look in your eyes, which means I'm actually looking down. So those are two places that I understand. I hear what you're saying, right? It's better to look at the dot.
Your eyes right now are really good. I don't know where you're looking, but it looks like you're looking at me.
Right now, I'm literally looking at your pink glasses, at your eyes.
On the screen.
On the screen, not at the camera.
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, not at the camera. So I'm looking at the camera now, and now I'm looking at you. So sometimes just kind of rotate your eyes around. It's okay. And it's okay for you to go look at your notes and your comments, because you have to do that nowadays. And people are aware of that. But if you're presenting for a long time, you have to give some good eye contact sometime. But in a normal conversation, I think it's good if you can move your eyes a bit, but sometimes you have to look right there in that camera.
Yeah. Okay.
And to give them a good idea of what's going on.
Can I ask you one question that somebody asked earlier? They said, what if someone puts their hands on their hips while standing and listening? That sounds, I don't.
That's so good. No, but let me tell you, it's like this. It's like someone doing this, right?
Yeah.
You know what? That's a great thing. It's a sign of authority. Because the wider you make yourself, the more authoritative you look to others. And so there's a difference in someone who puts their hand this way. Wait, let me see if I can get it. And someone who puts their hand this way. See this?
Oh, yeah.
And this. So when someone has their hand this way, this is really authoritative. And they're like, okay, let's get the show on the word. They're kind of impatient. When someone puts their hand this way, they're kind of analyzing. I don't know if you can see it. When they put their hand this way, it's more so they're contemplating what to do next. Isn't that funny? You can go this way or you can go this way. Yeah.
This way feels to me like they'd be like judging, or like where I feel like
thumbs are also always displayed as signs of confidence. If I do this with you, it's like, yeah, I feel good about that too. So when you're doing this too, you're kind of judging them. When you're doing the thumb up, you're kind of judging them somewhat. Yeah. And so whoever asked that question about even the feet spread apart, that is a huge sign of confidence too, because think of Beyonce when she's performing, how far she keeps her legs apart. So it's like taking a stance. So even when I speak, I don't do that quite as much as she does, but I always keep my feet at shoulder width apart. So my feet are exactly even with my shoulders, because I know that when you have to stand up in front of a group to speak, you have to develop a stance and a substance for yourself so that they can see that you have some depth to you. If you're speaking and you go from hip to hip to hip, you look too wishy-washy. And the great thing about standing with your feet apart is that it says that you think clearer when your weight is evenly distributed between your 2 feet. So that's why you see speakers stand that way, singers stand that way. So that when I teach people, I say, if ever you're doing a speech and you lose track of where you are in your speech, just stop for a few minutes and put your weight balance on your 2 legs. It's going to bring you right back to where you need to be in your talk.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. That's a good point to know. And even your butt is your anchor point. So even when you're sitting down during these conversations, usually you're in one position. When someone's telling you a story though, and they tend to keep moving their anchor part, it means that they're uncomfortable and they're probably lying to you. So, they go like this, or even moving the shoulders back and forth it could be also ruled with deception. It's distracting too. And people will go front and back too. Bill Gates does this, by the way. It's kind of someone deep in thought.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
Is it a lot of information, Gina?
It's a lot of great information. It's great information. I mean, I just love it. I remember that time seeing you. I just was like, wow, like everyone needs to know this. I mean,
I'm so glad, Gina.
Yeah, this is so important.
It's my pleasure to do it, because I want the world to know how good body language is and how maybe understanding it can change your life. Like tomorrow night, I have an online course, but people who are in my course, I meet with them once a month. And tomorrow night's it's the first Thursday of the month. And I want to invite your listeners, if someone wants to come in and watch me do it. I'm analyzing sleep positions.
Oh, yes. That's
sleep positions, the way that you sleep in your bed, the way that you sleep in your bed, and if you sleep with another person, a spouse, how y'all sleep together and what it says about your relationship. And also, I analyze dreams, and I'm doing that tomorrow evening. So if anybody who's on this call tonight or on this show with you, they want to tune in, if they'll tell you tomorrow, Gina, that or tonight that they want you, I'll send you the link to the class.
Oh,
and they can come into the class tomorrow night. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I would love it. I would love it.
7 o'clock Central Time. But I'll send you, just send me the name, your email address to anyone, and I'll send the link, then they can tune into my class when I lecture tomorrow night on it.
Oh, that's very generous of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I mean, if I'm a teacher, I just want to teach it to a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's great information, and everybody should definitely go on and get your books, because the books are invaluable. I mean,
they're on my website.
Yeah.
JanHargrave.com. Look, these are the books. So this is Let Me See Your Body Talk.
Yes.
It's general body language, job interview presentation skills. This is the one about liars called Judge the Jury. This is the one about negotiation. It's strictly business body language. This is a good one. It has pictures of every conceivable sitting position, standing position.
Oh.
This is the one about poker players and
love
body language. Isn't it cool? Freeway of Love.
I love that. I want to see all the chapter names. I'm going to be singing them every time I look
in there. And then my online course is just janhargrave.com/course. It's 13 modules of me teaching in-depth body language.
That is really awesome. Thank you so much. There's everybody's saying yes, yes, please, please. I have one last question for you, because we had two people ask, what if somebody doesn't have, we have Dana who's in a wheelchair. So that's hard. I mean, she's quadriplegic, and I know we had Marcos Rossi who has no arms and legs. So that you have, I mean, that's you can only tell by face, really, right?
Right. Yeah. So Dana and Marco, that's when really you have to work those facial expressions as much as you can. Like even a true smile. A smile is all the parts of your face together. Not just, this is just a fake smile. A real smile, the eyes will crinkle up here. So the advantage that they have is that nobody's going to ever know when they're lying to anybody, because they're not going to touch their left hand to their left side of the face. So that's going to be a good advantage to them. So the thing is that when that condition does happen to people, they have to be so aware of how they communicate, and they have to use it with as much I want to say enthusiasm as they can when they're happy, and let us see how much sadness they have when they sad. And that's going to be through reading facial expressions. There's a link to this test. It's called I can't remember the name, but I can send it to you, Gina. But what it is that it's a test about facial expressions. There's only 7 universal facial expressions. And so what they do, they throw you, that you see a face and you have to say if it's anger, sad, disgust. They give you another face. So they give you 20 faces. And if you're good at reading facial expressions, you can get maybe 17 out of 20. I noticed that most people now only score maybe 7 out of 20. So that's how much we're not in tune to the facial expression that a person is sending out. So those people who primarily have to let their face speak for themselves, you have to understand every part of a facial expression. What fear involves the upper forehead here. It involves the sides of the face. So I think that would be a good test for them. And it's Berkeley. And I can send you that information that you can send them. They can just take the test. It's real fun. I keep taking the test till I get a perfect score, 20 out of 20 every time.
That's great. I love it. I'm sure you get 20 out of 20 every time. You must.
I try.
Find out. Well, I mean, I would love to keep you longer, but that was just amazing. I don't want to hold you up any longer, though. That was a wonderful conversation. I'm ecstatic to have had you on here, for everyone to have learned all this amazing information from you. It's really so powerful. So definitely log on. I will let you know all the people that want to join tomorrow night. And Jan, I just love you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're putting both of your hands here. That's so good. Don't put them right high. It looks like you're going to choke yourself. Make sure that Gina, I love you, girl. I love you. And anybody who wants to reach me, just reach me. We can have some fun with this. We can learn more. But my heart is with you, my darling friend, and we'll do this again.
Oh, thank you. Okay, sounds great. Okay, thanks everybody for watching. Bye.
Till we study the Dream Weaver. The Dream Weaver.
Dream Weavers, yes. And so let's go check out.
Bye, honey.
We'll find out tomorrow night about what the dreams mean. Whoever comes on tomorrow night. All right. Thanks, everybody.